1974. A small-time car thief named Carlos Later sits in a Connecticut prison cell dreaming impossible dreams. Half German, half Colombian, he's just another forgotten criminal doing time for auto theft. But in that prison, Later meets someone who'll change everything. George Jung, a marijuana smuggler with connections to Colombian cocaine suppliers. What happens next will turn a petty criminal into the architect of America's cocaine epidemic. But first, Later needs to solve an impossible problem that's baffling every drug lord in South America. The challenge? How do you move tons of cocaine from Colombian jungles to American streets, across 1,500 miles of ocean and the world's most monitored borders? Other cartels were using boats, cars, human mules, slow, dangerous, limited capacity. But Carlos Later, he looked up. Later's genius was simple. Why sneak drugs across borders when you can fly over them? But he needed something no drug lord had ever attempted: his own country. Norman's Cay, a tiny Bahamian island 210 miles from Miami. Population, maybe 100 people, perfect landing strips, virtually no law enforcement. In 1978, Later began buying up the island piece by piece. Not just a house or two, the entire island. But owning property is one thing. What Later did next crossed a line that no criminal had ever dared cross before. He transformed Norman's Cay into his personal nation-state. From 1978 through 1982, the Cay became the Caribbean's main drug smuggling hub, processing billions of dollars in cocaine. But this wasn't just about drug smuggling. Later built something unprecedented, a criminal's paradise where he lived like a king. Picture this: armed guards patrolling beaches, luxury cars arriving daily, and at the center of it all, Carlos Later living like a Caribbean dictator. He didn't just buy property, he terrorized local residents until they fled. Those who stayed, they worked for him or they disappeared. This is where the GTA comparison breaks down. In the game, you're robbing a fictional villain. In reality, Later destroyed an entire community's way of life. Court papers show that the first load Later handled reaped $1 million profit for 2 days of work. But that was just the beginning. Norman's Cay became the hub for 80% of cocaine entering the United States. Later wasn't just a drug dealer. He was reshaping American society, fueling the crack epidemic that would devastate entire cities. But every empire has enemies, and Later was about to discover that even kings can fall. By 1981, the DEA knew exactly what was happening on Norman's Cay. They had surveillance photos, witness testimonies, mountains of evidence. There was just one problem: they couldn't touch him. Later had bought protection at every level. Police, politicians, customs officials, everyone had a price, and Later paid it. In September of 1979, 260 Bahamian police officers raided Norman's Cay, arresting 33 of Later's men. They even caught Later himself trying to flee the island. But here's the twist that sounds like it's straight out of GTA. A Bahamian official had warned Later of the raid. Within hours, all charges were mysteriously dropped. Later walked free and returned to his island kingdom like nothing had happened. But this victory would be his downfall. Success made Later reckless. He began attracting attention the cartel didn't want: publicity, heat, investigations. Pablo Escobar and the other cartel leaders decided Later had become a liability. Remember that line no criminal had ever crossed? Later had done something even Pablo Escobar found unforgivable. He'd made himself too famous. On February 4th, 1987, acting on a tip that some people believed came from Escobar himself, Colombian National Police raided a ranch near the town of Guarne and captured Later. Within hours, he was sent to the United States. He was later sentenced to life without parole and an additional 135 years in prison. The king of Norman's Cay would spend the next 33 years in American federal prison. Today, Norman's Cay is a ghost island. There are all kinds of relics of Later's reign throughout the island, including a crashed drug plane that still sits underwater, a tourist attraction for divers. When Rockstar Games created El Rubio's Island Fortress, they barely had to exaggerate. Private army? Check. Luxury compound? Check. Massive security operation? Check. Island dictator with unlimited resources? Check. But here's a detail that'll shock you. In 2020, after serving 33 years, Later was deported to Germany. In March 2025, he returned to Colombia. The real El Rubio is walking free today, 78 years old. Next time you play GTA's Cayo Perico Heist, remember you're not just robbing a video game villain, You're infiltrating a recreation of the most audacious criminal enterprise in modern history. And if you want to know how a couple of fake police officers pulled off the craziest heist in American history, then click on the video that pops up.